Okay,
All right,
I'll call the meeting to legislative committee meeting to order. I need approval of the agenda for the day. Sorry.
Ms. Gordon, it's you and Mr. Campbell who are our committee members today.
Okay, I move that we approve the agenda.
Okay, I'll second that.
With the removal of the minutes.
With the removal of the minutes.
Minutes.
Yes.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We don't have no public comment.
No, sir.
Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and
And to the republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Media has been notified. We don't have no public comments.
Nope.
Okay, Mrs. Stokes, Lori?
Yes, sir. So when we were last together, you all tasked me with a couple of questions. One was regarding what the status is of full funding for 4-year-old kindergarten. And I think I've answered it, but just wanted to make sure that you all are aware. It is a year-by-year decision based on the amount of money that is appropriated and how much is in the pot. Right now, we're close, but there is no pending legislation that was introduced last year to mandate that. And in the pre-files from the House and Senate, which I've sent y'all that list you should have in your package, there doesn't exist a piece of legislation that would mandate full funding for 4-year-old kindergarten. I think it's just a matter of the decision if you all want to include that in your legislative priority list. I don't see anything wrong with it. It is all going to depend on how much money we have. And I think, as I've mentioned before, it's really a debate that's held within the Senate Finance Committee and the Ways and Means Committee as we see what kind of revenue we're going to have recognized this year, which we don't expect to be as much as what we've had in the last 2 years. So I just wanted to circle back on that piece of it and see if anybody had any questions about that.
I don't, Chloe, you have any questions?
No, I do not.
The second thing that y'all asked me about was career and technical education. And I sent to Robin, and I think you have it in your packet, what the Department of Education has as their current policy for CTE education. This is a little bit new to me, so I've done some research to try to better understand what the problem is. And I do understand that there is some frustration within the system about the types of credits that are received and the type of pay that's received for the teacher based on a 4-block or a 7-block day schedule. So there's some disparity if the teacher is teaching a course twice, once in the first semester, as I would call it, and again in the spring. Seems like they get paid differently than if it is on a full 7-day block. So there really is a problem with that. I understand that the school board superintendents are aware of that issue, and they are working with the department to try to see if they can find some resolve to help deal with that disparity. Also, there's some loss of money in the programs because of the career district centers and how they're operating, and there seems to be concern around that. There's conversations going on with Superintendent Weaver to see if there is some answer to that. I know that the Senate Finance Committee, K-12 staff, is working to see if that is an issue that they need to address by proviso this year. And then finally, I will say about that, a story was told to me that a teacher came in as a school nurse, but then they tasked her to teach one of these career technical education programs, and it cost her a reduction in salary of $8,000. So again, I understand there's some issues within the program. The department is aware of it. I think probably the best thing for us to do is monitor it as we go along and see what the state board may offer in terms of a regulation, what the Senate Finance Committee and Ways and Means Committees decide to do to attempt to address these disparities. So let me stop there and see if y'all have any questions about any of that.
Chloe?
Chloe, are you there?
It looks like she stepped away from her
Yeah, I was gonna say.
computer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You have Elizabeth, William, and Dr. Watts on.
Okay. Dr. Wise?
Yeah, hi, Lynn, nice to see you.
Hey.
I'm gonna have some other questions not related to CTE, so I'll let the others go ahead of me.
Dr. Watts, go ahead.
Okay. Lynn, just so you know, there were 5 of us that attended the South Carolina School Boards Association Legislative Conference and Delegate Assembly in Charleston this past weekend. And let's see, 4 of us are on this call with you now. Myself, William, Earl, and Chloe. And the other attendee was Carlton Dallas. So one of the things that I'm very much concerned about, and I don't remember the number of it, is the bill where somebody in the community or parents can ask to review teachers' instructional materials, basically. And where is that currently in this process?
So a lot of this, Dr. G, is coming from the book ban issue.
Exactly.
There was also there was, and y'all are all aware of everything that happened with the split from the Library Association and the department. So I know y'all know about all of that. And then there's certainly been a call for book bans by the Moms for Liberty and others. And as a piece of that, there was one particular incident that happened in the Midlands where a teacher was teaching something that a parent found to be problematic and wanted to be able to review lessons plans, instructional materials, and all that kind of information. So there is a piece of legislation that was pre-filed. It's in this packet that I sent you.
Okay.
That would deal with that. Also, and it was pre-filed, so we obviously hadn't taken it up yet. It's in the Education Committee. I believe it was a legislator from the upstate, and I'm looking at Shannon. She's with me, Shannon Bruni, just to make sure I'm right. And she says I am. So that will be pending and upcoming when we come back in January. The other thing that you need to know, which I'm sure you heard about this weekend, is that the department, via the Board of Education, has accepted under review recommendations for a regulation that would significantly change how books are placed in school libraries. And it basically turns over all of that to the department to regulate. If y'all have not seen that regulation proposal, you need to take a look at it, and also be aware that the public comment period, I believe it's January the 21st. I might be off a week or two. I'll double check. And then a public hearing is going to be held in February on those regulations. I understand that a lot of the School Board Association and the Superintendent's Association Library Association and others have been trying to work with the department to come to some resolve over some of the concerns that are raised in that regulation. But that is definitely something that you guys are going to want to take a look at and weigh in on.
Could you give us the regulation number?
Yeah, give me a second to find it.
Thank you.
But y'all can talk to me while I do that.
So, so Lynn, let me continue on. The reason I'm bringing this up is, I don't think the State Department of Education fully understands when they are writing policy, like for any community member could question any instructional materials, what that can then ultimately result in terms of unintended consequences. I honestly think that it would greatly, it would be a real problem in Beaufort County. I think we would have a lot of people just constantly, be asking for this material, questioning this material. And I think it just takes away from instruction. So much so because all we'd be doing would be providing all these documents for all these people. And the reason I say that is look at what happened in our county for the contested books. There's 96 of them that were contested. We've spent 15 months following the state model policy with one additional community member on each library materials committee review. And so we had a separate committee for every single book. I mean, and people have to volunteer for this. It's not like, you can't make somebody be on that committee. The teachers that are on them don't get it paid at all. They of course have to do it after hours. And ultimately, any parent could submit a form at our school saying they don't want their child reading X book or Y book, and not a single parent did that. And we've spent all this time on something that could have, every parent could decide. And I feel that the parents should be the ones that are deciding what their child is reading. I don't feel it's appropriate for me as a board member to be telling people what they can and cannot read. I think it's a parental decision. And I just don't think the Department of Education realizes some of these unintended consequences. And I actually made the point I just said now to you about these, the unintended consequences of their contested book policy. And I made that public at the SCSBA conference, and to cheers in the room, because clearly other districts are dealing with the same problem. We're just so bogged down in providing this and that. We're losing sight of, we need to instruct these children on math, reading, writing. That's where we need to be focusing our efforts.
Well, I agree with you. And this regulation doesn't have a document number yet, but I just forwarded it to Robin so she can share it with you. Let me pull up these dates. I was only off by a day. So written comments are due on the 22nd of January, and then there's a public hearing scheduled on February the 13th here in Columbia at the Rutledge Conference Center. So I would encourage y'all to read this and put together some sort of position paper on how y'all feel about it. It is very overreaching, according to a lot of people that have taken a look at it. The regulatory process, as you know, is very similar to what we deal with in the statutory process with piece of legislation. So they'll promulgate the regulation, it'll be published, there'll be this comment period, there'll be a public hearing, and then they can make any changes to it and then submit it to General Assembly. And once it's submitted, it can be approved, it can be disapproved, or they can ask, the General Assembly can ask the department to take it back and make some further changes to it, and that tolls the clock. So the clock is 120 days from the date it was submitted, unless you get told because you have to take it back. So it's not going to happen overnight like that. I want y'all to understand you got time, but that date for written comments and the public hearing is key.
Yeah.
So,
Let me. Yeah, her hand was up.
Yes, yes, I just wanted to, echo what, Dr. Quats said as well. And I think I heard something about a parent wanting to see the teacher's lesson plans. Is that what I heard? Being a former teacher, I would tell you, and I know that this district does it as well. And as an administrator, teachers are required to put their lesson plans in a document where the principal and the assistant principals, we go through the lesson plans. Now, if parents want to do that process as well, teachers are not going to do it. It is so much work. I don't think that they realize the man hours that go into a lesson plan. It's just not chapter one, it's the whole unit. And they have to prepare these lesson plans weekly and submit them. Teachers also give parents syllabuses. It is, to me, mind-boggling what we expect teachers to do and say we want to keep good teachers. They're going to bolt. That is the risk. We continue to put things on the teachers to the point where they're not teaching. Teachers are educated to teach. They're not preachers, they're not lawyers, they're not doctors, they're not psychiatrists. You know, they're not the school nurse, but they're everything but teaching. And now we want parents to be able to look at their lesson plans. They can do it. Open up the chapter. They can see what's being taught. This is ridiculous. I'm just going to put it out there. I believe the teachers are going to definitely have negative comments about now. You know, I teach 132 kids and I got 132 parents who now want to see my lesson plans along with what I have to do for the district. It's not possible. That's all I got to say.
what?
Yeah, Chloe, I agree 100%. I mean, that's the whole problem is there is oversight, like you've just pointed out, with the lesson plans, and you just cannot be, you know, the teacher. That is way too much to expect on a teacher. And in our conference, we're like 1,200 teachers short in South Carolina right now for their vacancies in classrooms. I mean, that's huge. They said it was like twice as much as a few years ago. The teacher, we're not going to have any teachers left. You just cannot. It doesn't, you know, all it does is really put way too much of time, effort, energy on a teacher to do things that are not the teaching. The teacher, he or she needs to be teaching.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a comment? Say,
I think the only other thing I wanted to mention to you all, and Robin, I don't have a draft of it yet, but I should have it by tomorrow, is the revamping of the high school league. That's been an ongoing conversation with the House Education Committee all summer and fall. So they have offered a first draft piece of legislation which would fold the high school league into the Department of Education, allowing appointments by the governor and the superintendent of education for who's going to run that committee. I think it's going to be pretty controversial. Just want y'all to be aware of that. As soon as I get my hands on it, I will share it with you guys, and y'all can circulate that and decide if there's anything that you feel like you need to include on the legislative agenda about that.
say,
Yes, sorry, I couldn't hear you at first. I couldn't tell you were saying my name, and then I didn't get to my mute button fast enough. But I don't have any comments at this time. I was joining the meeting today to learn more in real time about what we do in legislative committee. So thank you.
Dr. Barnes?
Yes, Lynn, at the conference this weekend, there was tons of chatter about the South Carolina High School League. And I think that's not going to be a real popular option, what you just described from interacting with lots of board members over the weekend. I think just changing it to rolling it up into something else doesn't fix all the problems.
True, and I think there's some concern, at least from the conference where you were this weekend versus the superintendents, the school boards versus the superintendents. I think the superintendents have a seat on that board, and the school boards do not. And I think there are others that are going to be upset that they don't have a seat at the table. So it is going to be controversial, but I anticipate there to be some changes made. What those look like at the end of the day, who knows? But just want to make sure that that's on y'all's radar.
Lynn, is there a number for the kindergarten? Is that on this House pre-files list? Because I didn't see it.
No, ma'am. There's
Okay.
no legislation that was pre-filed for 4K kindergarten.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith?
No, yes, sir. No, actually, my comments and my concerns between Dr. Quads and Mrs.
Gordon?
Mrs. Gordon, they pretty much took. They pretty much said what said. I'm in agreement with what they said, as well as with this coach situation. I think one guy also brought it that to what Mrs. Murray just said, that he did agree that the school board did not have a big enough emphasis in terms of the rules and regulations and basically different parts of different plans, and so they were kind of unhappy about that. And they did say that this weekend. That would be the only thing that I would want to add to what was said so far. That's what I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for acknowledging me. Thank you.
Anyone else? Then, does she have any?
I'm sorry. I feel like I'm dominating the conversation. So Lynn, I want to pick your brain while we've got you.
Okay.
So as you know, our board unanimously upheld the idea that we would like to try to obtain fiscal authority, where we have set our budget and then also the millage. We already do that for the debt service, but we don't do that for the operating budget. So we've gotten when this has come up over the years, I gather, with the legislative delegation, I think they've been hesitant to sort of not have the county council in the mix with this decision making. But now county council back maybe 6 months ago unanimously voted to support us in our quest for fiscal authority. So now our delegation needs to introduce legislation for that to happen. And I wanted to know, can you help us with that? And if so, we need to have sort of steps on how to go forward. And one thing I can think of is, as the chair, I have sent periodically to the delegation, to our delegation, why things that show that we have been very fiscally responsible. And I could do that again now. And I think two things point very well to that. One is we had such tremendous support from the voters on the $439 million school bond referendum that just passed a month ago. And not a single precinct in our county did not support it. And we had support anywhere from 58% to 95% for that, for the school bond referendum. I mean, that's That's just almost unheard of. And then the second thing is, I attended the finance committee meeting this afternoon, as did others here that are with us now. And once again, we have, a clean annual audit. And this is now the 23rd consecutive year that our school district has had a clean audit. I mean, that just speaks volumes about our fiscal responsibility. So how should we proceed? What do you see as the way forward? Because we'd really like to get the legislation passed at the state level towards the beginning of this term, because our budget, we start working on our budget once we're into 2024 very soon. January, February we start on it.
Right. Wendy, do you think that would be considered local legislation, or would we have to do a statewide statutory change? I think it's local.
Tina, didn't Herb Kirschman say that he would file the legislation on our behalf?
Mm-hmm. He and Tom
Yeah.
Davis talked about it.
So I think it has to actually be at the state level, from what
Does it?
I've been told.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
and
I
I think-
looked at some of the other, I looked at some of the other districts and they pre-filed in the General Assembly.
So do you think, Lynn, that we should have a meeting? Like, can you arrange a meeting with maybe Senator Tom Davis and House Member Bill Herb Kurzman, because they seem like they've been the ones that have been most supportive of it. At least that's my impression. Now, maybe my impression is not accurate, but I think it is.
No, I think we can, and really what we should do is ask didn't Shannon chair the delegation? Yeah. So we don't want to leave Shannon out. Shannon Erickson, she's chair of the delegation. So why don't you let my Shannon Bruning back
Yeah.
here, it's kind of muddled, and me reach out to her and Tom and Bill and see if they're going to have a delegation meeting before the end of the year. If not, we'll work outside of a delegation meeting. And if y'all can send me a draft of what you want the language to look like, we'll get it over.
We've already shared that with them, but I can, and I'm pretty sure I copied you.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, but it was in May or April. I mean, it was a while ago.
Definitely.
But if you can't locate that, just let me know and I'll send it
Okay.
again to you.
Okay.
But I shared that with the delegation. So is now Shannon Erickson, you just said the chair of the delegation, not Wes Newton?
That it could have changed, and I'm not aware.
Okay, because it
But
was
either
Wes
way.
Newton. Okay.
It may be Weston, and I just was with him last week. But anyway, yeah, no problem. We'll take care of that.
Okay, so I think that would be really helpful to us. So if they have a delegation meeting, would that be something that would be local here in our county, or would it be in Columbia?
No, it'll be there.
Meaning down here?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and I went to their meeting they had in April of 2023 to specifically speak about at that time why I felt, or why the board felt we should have fiscal authority. And then ultimately, it was shortly thereafter that the council supported us in it. County council.
Everyone voted for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unanimous support.
All right, so keep me, as the chair of the Beaufort County Board of Education, please keep me in the loop and let me know, what we need to do going forward to get the ball rolling for this, since that's what we've, that's the board's will. It's been approved by the board, approved by county council. Let's go for it.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you very much.
Of
Anything
course.
else? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have, unless anybody has any other questions for me.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Of course, y'all have a great holiday season.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
The next, last item is, future topics. Mrs. Gordon, do you have any future topics that you think we need to talk about?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Was anything that you think we need to?
No, just, I really think we've got to pursue the fiscal, authority, legislation, to, close that, that the circle on that. And also, as Lynn has already mentioned tonight, we may want to add some of these other, I guess you'd say, topics and legislation to our position statement.
Ms. Hay?
No, I think Dr. Guad's covered it well, with the moving forward with fiscal autonomy. So I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Smith?
No, sir. No, I don't have anything else. Thank you, sir. Thank you for acknowledging me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Nothing else, we're adjourned.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
bye.